Good morning, everybody. Happy November. Hope all the hunters are doing well out there. I am this week hanging out at a little place I like to call Pap's Place and keeping the fire warm. And I just got up this morning and was doing my reading and had to jump on because I want to continue this, how do you know Jesus, how you met Jesus. And it has been so peaceful and so quiet up here that I have been able to really, really kind of dive into the word and just it's been really good. So the last episode, video, whatever, we talked about the first time I met Jesus, and I walked into my living room. I'm tiny, I don't know, 4 years old, maybe something like that. Saw my mom sitting on the couch, asked her what she was doing. She said, reading my Bible. I said, oh, what is that? And we had a discussion. That's kind of what I remember and how I remember it. Fast forward a little bit, maybe a year or two, maybe. And we had some friends of ours who would come over and pick me up on Wednesday evenings to take me to church for Awana. Now, some of you may know what that is. It's just a little a little kids Christian club, if you will. It's like a Sunday school on Wednesday nights. And I would go, and we had these little vests we had to wear that said Cubbies on them because that was the group I was in because of my age. And we had these little books, these spiral bound books that would have verses in them and pictures and little activities and just cute little things. And every week we had to memorize a verse in our book. We'd go to the class, we would recite our verse by memory, and our little, volunteer leader would sign right under that verse where their signature is supposed to go, stating, in fact, that the child recited their verse without needing help, and they would date it, and you'd move on to the next verse. And then every week, you'd do however many you could do, and then at the end, or like every chapter or whatever, you received a little patch or a pin or a sticker or whatever for doing your verses. I loved going. I loved the family that picked me up. In fact, we are still friends to this day, 40 years later. Insane. Wonderful, wonderful people, still wonderful Christian influences in my life. And the other little girl and I would go to this class together every week. I don't know how long we did this. I don't know how long they picked me up. I don't even know if I made it the whole year or did several years or whatever, but I remember going, and it was a profound time in my life. So I think that's where initially I started to build a relationship, if you will, with God, right? That's what we're supposed to do. Acknowledge who he is, understand what he did for us, died on the cross, rose again, for our sins, for us, he did this. So, and then we have to build a relationship with him. And that's hard to do with somebody that you can't necessarily see, touch, and feel, right? But it started for me way back in preschool. However, I just have to point this out because God is so awesome, right? He forgives us for all of our sins. He knows all of our downfalls, all of our dirty little secrets, whatever. He is all knowing, right? So they pick me up one week, or they come to pick me up one week, and it's warm. I think it's still summer. It's either summertime or spring. I don't know. But I'm outside playing because that's what I did. I'm always outside. Was always outside with the neighbor kids, running through the cornfield, jumping in the creek, catching frogs, catching snakes, whatever. We were outside riding bikes, doing something. So Wednesday night they show up and I'm nowhere around. I'm out in the back somewhere playing with friends or getting dirty, I'm sure, or doing whatever. So my mom's hollering for me on the porch. I hear her. I come running. And she gives me a quick, spit shine of the face, runs her fingers through my hair, throws on my vest, gives me my book, and sends me out the door. I'm sure I was just a peach. But I hadn't memorized my verses that week because I didn't take the time to do it. I just wanted to be outside playing, so I wouldn't stay in to do my verses with my mom. Now, mind you, I was quite the spoiled little child. I didn't really have rules. It was kind of ridiculous. But I don't know how I would do or what I would be like as a parent, knowing possibly that I wasn't going to make it the next few years, and how much I would fight or argue with my kids. I don't know what I would do. I don't discredit my mom for that by any means, or my dad for that matter. But I was a wild heathen. Like, dang, and those of you that know me know. So anyway, I don't memorize my verses this week, right? And I'm kind of starting to panic. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know my verse. And my mom, in all her infinite wisdom for dealing with a 5-year-old or whatever I was like, well, when you don't put in the time, you don't get the reward. Sent me out the door on my way. And I was just like, oh, she's not going to fix this for me. She's not just going to sign my book for me or whatever. Like, what the heck, Mom? And mind you, I am like 5. So we get to class and I sneak around the classroom until I find somebody's pen, stick it in my pocket. I go hide in a corner somewhere, and I decide I'm going to sign my leader's name in the signature spot, stating that I have in fact recited my verses, by memory. I'm 5. I just learned how to write my own name. Not in cursive either. Like, I can do my letters, my 1, 2, 3s, and write my name. And that's about the extent of it. But here I am, hiding in a corner with a pen I took off some table. And I'm going to sign this leader's name, her signature. Yeah. And I did. I did. I studied all those curves and the humps and the dots and the cross on the T and all the connecting points. Oh yeah, I studied it as much as a 5-year-old can study, and then attempted to write it and thought I did a fantastic job. Like, it looked fantastic to me. I thought nobody's gonna know that that's not actually her signature. I totally pulled this off. What 5-year-old would even think of doing that? I don't know. Something is obviously wrong with me. So I waited until like the very end to go up to do my verses because I was nervous, right? The signature looked great to me. Surely it's going to pass, but I just wasn't so totally sure. So I get up to do my thing, and she opens my book to my page, and she's looking at the page, and she looks at me, and she looks at the page, and she looks at me, and she does that a couple more times, and I'm just staring at her. Probably got beads of sweat dripping off my face. I don't even know. And she says, well, can you do your verse? I said, I already did it. You signed, it's already signed. I'm done. I did it. She goes, well, can you do it for me? I'm like, but it's already signed, so I don't have to do it twice. Literally arguing with my lead. Like, I remember this. And I'm sure that some of my verbiage here is probably not spot on, but I literally remember this. Anyway, she knew the signature was not legit. So she totally ratted me out. And I was so mad at her for ratting me out. Like, called my mom. And I'm sure my mom laughed because she has that sense of humor where it would have been funny. And honestly, if my kid were to have done it, I would probably have laughed as well. They would have got punished. I'm a firm believer in disciplining your children. And maybe it's because I didn't have any and I was a wild animal. So I knew I didn't want my kids to be wild animals. So discipline has always been a thing in my house. So I'm sure I would have disciplined them had they done something like this, but I'm also sure I would have laughed very hard at the fact they tried to pull this off. But at any rate, my very beginning relationship with God started with me trying to forge a signature stating that I recited a Bible verse. Yeah. So there's my beginning. There's my start. So I want y'all to walk away knowing no matter what you do or how you're going to go about doing it, there is always forgiveness through Christ, okay? He loves each and every one of us. He knows all of our shortcomings. He knows already what we've done and what we're going to do. So knowing that we have the opportunity to be forgiven is incredibly amazing. And without that, I would not be who I am today. Like, legitimately. There are so many things I have asked forgiveness for over the years and throughout my life, just as anybody, because we are all sinners. Not a single one of us are perfect. We are not going to go through life without making mistakes, falling flat on our face, or blatantly doing things we shouldn't do. It's life. We're human. That happens. So thank God, that he forgives us. But that would be part 2 of my journey with God, and how I've got to know him, and the start of my walk with Christ. Yeah, started out real fantastic. But needless to say, throughout my life, he has never, ever abandoned me. There are so many things he has saved me from. There are so many things that he has kept me out of harm from. And I am forever grateful, and I absolutely cherish my faith and my belief in God, and I'm so grateful to have that. So think back on your relationship with God, and where it started, and what things you were doing at the time, and how you got through, and how you made it, and how your relationship started to form and grow, and all of that kind of stuff. And that was my very beginning. Preschool, Awana, forging signatures. That's where it all started. But needless to say, I had never done that again. That was a one and done deal. Never tried to forge Awana signatures ever again in my life. In fact, I also learned the hard lesson that, yeah, kid, you might know how to write your name, but you can't write cursive. No matter how hard I tried, it did not work. So, yeah, too funny. I have all kinds of stories like that, though. But, it's part of who made me who I am today. So I don't look at it as, oh my gosh, I'm so thoroughly embarrassed and ashamed. I just am like, yep, that was another stepping stone of me learning what I needed to learn. So we all have those. But at any rate, everybody have a fantastic day. And, and I love you like biscuits and gravy. Got this from my dad. And I love y'all like biscuits and gravy too. Because Lord knows biscuits and gravy are like the best. And nobody can make them like my dad. So if you haven't had his, I suggest you try them. Everybody have a fabulous day. Talk to you soon.